So I just got through eating lunch with my in-laws family, and I walked into the kitchen, and I could just feel like dirty looks and shit, like they were just talking shit about me. So I looked around and I was like, fuck you guys. I'll go sit by the kids at the little kiddie table, and which is right next to the big table. So it's like I'm still sitting with the people, the grown people. So I, it got quiet right when I walked in. So I was like, you know what? I'll do something to make these kids laugh because they're looking at me weird too. Like, why the hell is this fucking big freak sitting at the kiddie table, right? And I'm like, hey kids, you guys want to see me do something funny? And they're like, no, but I did it anyway. But I was like, they gave me that look like, whatever. And I was like, okay, check this out. What if I just drank this whole bottle of ketchup right here? And they really didn't seem like they cared, but I was already, committed. So I grabbed the ketchup bottle off the table, and I take it and I just start drinking it. It was really hard to drink, honestly. Like, I didn't know it would be that hard, so I was really struggling, and it was kind of gross because there was ketchup on my face and shit. But I couldn't quit drinking it. I was already doing it. So I drank the whole ketchup, and I'm like, wasn't that funny, kids? And then I just looked at all the adults, and then right as I was drinking the last drink with ketchup on my face, my father-in-law comes in. They're all Polish, and they don't really like me. He don't like me. I'm pretty sure my mother-in-law hates me. The aunt, the uncle, just pretty much everybody. I feel like they should like me, but they're just judgmental Polacks. Anyway, so then he walks in right at the wrong moment, when I'm really struggling with the ketchup, trying to drink all this ketchup, and everybody's just looking at me in disgust, and he walks in and he's like, what the fuck? And I look at him and I'm drinking the ketchup still, and he's looking at me, and I finally struggling to fucking choke this ketchup down, and I put it on the table, and I'm coughing and shit. And I'm like, see, wasn't that funny, kids? And they're like, no. And then my father-in-law is he tells his daughter, can I speak to you in another room in Polish? Which I understood. And then they go around the corner, I could still hear them. And he's like, kurwa masz, fucking idiot, David. And I'm like, oh my God, I could hear you, bro. And then he looks, he's like, what the fuck is he doing? And she's like, well, he wanted to make the kids laugh. He's like, what the fuck? He's drinking ketchup? She's like, no, yeah, I don't know. He's just messing around, and he's cussing still. And then he comes out and he's staring at me and all pissed off. And he pours himself a shot and downs it and slams the fucking shot glass. And I'm like, hey, can I get one? Wash down this ketchup. And he just looks at me like, fuck you. And I'm like, all right, so that's over with now, at least, the ketchup. I drink some water, I wipe my face, and I just, kind of sit down, kind of shamefully sit down. And I didn't realize, they were having hamburgers and french fries, and I didn't also know that was, the only ketchup. So, they bring out the hamburgers and french fries, and everybody's like, is there more ketchup? And the aunt's like, no, David drank it all. That was our only ketchup. And I'm like, oh my God. So now it's getting worse. Now everybody's like, I want some ketchup. And I'm feeling bad and just kind of every time somebody says the word ketchup, I gotta look at the ground in shame. Then two more people walk in and start eating, and they're like, is there any ketchup? And I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, there's a little ketchup left at the bottom. I get a butter knife. And they're like, no, dude, stop. Just go sit down. I'm like, well, you guys want me to drive to go get some ketchup? And they're like, bro, it's 15 minutes to the nearest store. By the time you get some ketchup, we won't need the ketchup because the food will be cold. So I'm just sitting there eating these french fries and this dry ass burger. And I'm trying to give people mayonnaise and mustard, but nobody wants it because they're already all pissed off. And then at the end of it all, at the end of it all, my father-in-law is like, this burger's too dry, and he just like slams his burger on the ground like in like a fucking I don't know, a fit of anger, and he like just slams his burger down and walks out the door, and like slams the door, and everybody just looks at me, and I look at everybody, and I'm like, what's his problem? And then I just got the fuck out of there before they murdered me. But so this is just a little tale. I have another one. One time I went to McDonald's and they have this little, you know how they have that little thing? It's like if you ever had coffee, like you push this tab and the coffee comes out and you hold your cup under it. Same situation, only it's like one of those little ketchup paper things that you put ketchup in and you dip your fries in. So I got my little white little thing. It's like little as hell, like that little. And I'm going to get my ketchup. And I hold the thing down to dispense the ketchup like a normal human being, right? And it just sprays all over my shirt. And I'm like, what the fuck? So it's like a McDonald's in the hood in Chicago. And I'm like, what the fuck? I got ketchup all over myself. And they're all just looking at me like, so? And I'm like, well, what the fuck, bro? I got ketchup all over myself. And they're just like, what the fuck you want us to do? Here's some napkins. I'm like, napkins? Can I at least get a free McDouble? And they're like, we're not giving you a free McDouble. And then and the funny part about the story is I was like, well, my shirt's ruined. My grandma gave me this shirt. And everybody starts laughing. I'm like, my grandma gave me this shirt, man. I'm calling corporate. And they're like, bro, get the fuck out of here. And then I just kind of like gracefully bowed my head and like kind of like shamefully just walked out, and like I made a face like I was sad. And my grandma did give me that shirt. So it was horrible. But I don't know, man. I've just been having like problems with ketchup. I don't know.